So I made yet another change to my procedural dungeon generator. I probably haven't been putting as much work into actually just making the dungeons as I should be, but I want to get this system as airtight as possible so that I don't have to go back and fix old dungeons to... I want to get the system finished and then actually make all the dungeons afterwards so that I can just do it once and not have to go back and fix everything. But I'm going to show you what I just did. I put this together about a week ago, and I've been kind of making steady progress implementing it ever since, and it's been going pretty well. I'm going to show you an example of what the dungeon generator does first, and then I'll show you what the change is. I don't have every room configured yet, so I've got the dungeon generating only configuration A, which is rooms that can exit out the top, bottom, left, and right, which means that it's just going to be one massive grid-based room with no winding corridors, and there are going to be some visual glitches at the edges of the map where the paths just kind of cut off into nothingness. It won't be like that in the final product, but I'm just going to show you this to demonstrate. So as you can see here, the map kind of cuts off at the top and on the side there, and every single room is the same, and they all just exit out the left and the bottom here. What I want to show you, though, is something that I managed to do with this system. One of the things that I felt was a bit of a trade-off with using a procedural dungeon generator system like this, where it stitches together various rooms, is that there's less variety in what separates the rooms. For example, like these tiles here have to line up. So I have to use the same wall tile for the border of every single room, and it turns into something very bland and repetitive, and it just doesn't really feel very natural. It's still more detailed than just procedural dungeon generator with tiles and not parallax mapping, but it is still fairly limiting. So I wanted to find a way to change this. I'll see if I can actually find an example of what one of my previous maps looked like. Let's see here. Yeah, so this would have been an example of one of my earlier maps where I was actually mapping the entire room, like the entire dungeon floor, where you'd have, the same kind of grid-like nature where I have a room here, a room here, a room here, a room here, here, and here, but these rooms are, separated by walls, whereas these rooms are separated by these massive ponds. And there's a bit more variety to the map. It gets a little bit less maze-like, a little bit more, there's more distinguishing landmarks, like, oh, if you're next to this pond, you're pretty much right in the middle of the map. And I felt like using the procedural dungeon generator that I created got rid of a lot of this uniqueness, I guess. I don't know, I'm probably not saying the right word there, but it lost a lot of its character. And I wanted to find a way to get that back, and I think I found a way. So I'm going to show you what I did. What I did was I created a way to have a variant of every type of room by using the validation key. So the validation key is what determines to make sure all the rooms are actually connected. It starts with an array of numbers, the first one being 1, because the first term is always valid, and then the rest being 0, and it cycles through the dungeon a certain number of times, validating every room that is connected to this room, and so on and so forth, until all the rooms are validated. And if it cannot validate it, then it creates a fail-safe layout that is guaranteed to be valid. But if it does validate, then what it will do is it takes this validation key, and this is basically my list of rooms. And so what I managed to do is I basically picked a room in the center. I'll kind of show you a little bit of a visual representation by doing this here. So if this is my array of rooms, what I'm doing is I'm picking one room in the middle, one of these two rooms, and I'm changing it to a random number between 1 and 5. And what that is going to do is it's going to pick a variant. It could be the same, and it could just be a maze-like structure with no real variance. But if it's 2, 3, 4, or 5, then basically what it's saying is that, oh, this is supposed to have a pond in the corner, and the number indicates which corner. And then it takes all the adjoining rooms, and it converts them to the corresponding room that will match with the new variant. And it does that with one of these. So basically it could be either of these 4 rooms, either of these 4 rooms. Let me just do it this way. Here, this is maybe a better visual representation. It basically, what this game does now is it takes one of these 2 rooms in the middle, and it says, okay, generate a random variant of this room with a pond in one of these 4 corners. And then, let's say it's this room, or this variant here, where the pond is in this corner. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this room, and we're going to generate a pond in this corner. We're going to take this room and generate a pond in this corner, and this room and generate a pond in this corner. And so these 4 rooms have been changed to have a variant. And it could be in either this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, or this corner. And every different room configuration has a variant. It's easier for me to actually show you in the game what this will look like, so I'm just going to do that now. But that's essentially how this works. It just takes a validation key and then changes the variant based on that, and then comes up with a room code. Now, I did have to change the structure of my folders so that A configuration rooms are actually in their own folder, and basically all the different room configurations are in their own folder, but now within each folder, the variants are indicated by letters as well. So A is no variant, B is top right corner, C is bottom right corner, D is bottom left corner, and E is top left corner. And you'll kind of see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do here, I'm still only going to generate rooms with configuration A, just to give you an example. I'm probably not explaining this very well, and that's not the point. I'm excited by this. I want to share it. The more this system grows, the better it gets. So I want to kind of keep a running devlog in a way. A sip of coffee. Okay. So now what happens? Instead of the maze-like structure where it's all just rooms like this, somewhere in the middle of the map, a variant will be randomly generated. And I think I actually got unlucky. There's only a 20% chance of this happening, but yeah, it sure did. There's no variant in this map. So let's go to the next floor. That's actually a good demonstration. I guess that's not unlucky. And here we go. This is one of those variants. So all the rooms are still the same, just because I don't have them all configured yet to generate a full random dungeon with varying rooms and all that, but I will get there. But now, at a random point connected to somewhere in the middle of the dungeon will be this variant, where now there's these pawns that can generate in place of walls. The collision is roughly the same. I do have to alter the collision for each variant, but that's not that tough to do. And I'll actually kind of show you an example of how easy it is to create one of these variants. But this is how it works now. So now we actually get pawns in the middle instead of just walls. And it's not just completely segmented map, if that makes sense. Just open this for fun. Yeah. So this is what I've been working on. Now I'm actually going to show you how I put these variants together. It's actually pretty simple. So right now I'm just working on J1 room. And so what I'm going to do here, I've already finished variant B. Yeah, A is nothing, B is top right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variant with a pond in the bottom right here that connects to other adjacent ponds. It's actually kind of nice that I've already got a little bit of water there, because it Makes it a little bit more of a seamless transition. I do need to reapply some layers that I hid for that one variant. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do, here's all my resources. I'm going to take this water tile. What did I do? That's not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay. Drag that into this little water folder that I've got going here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace pretty much every tile in the bottom right corner Now I do have to go 2 tiles high with the water, otherwise I get a bit of a visual error where it kind of cuts off in the bottom. But this should be good. Now let me just double check here. I need to make sure the top of each wall tile lines up properly, but that should be all I need. So let's merge those layers together. Good. Okay, I need this here. I'm gonna need this, this. I'm trying really hard not to hit my end record key because that would, it's right next to my shift key, so I have to be careful. So I'm gonna be a little bit slow. Oh, sorry, a bit distracted. Okay, yeah, actually there's not a whole lot of tiles that I need here. That one there. This one here. This one here. And just for fun, let's, well, maybe, hold on. Yeah, let's grab like this little underwater reed tile. Okay, and now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna drag these layers in one at a time. I need to make sure that the top of the cave tile is in line with the other side, so that'll go there. Now I do have to make sure that my wall height descending into the water is consistent. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, drag these in. That one there. That one there, good. This is gonna go here. Yep. Just drag each of these tiles into place. I did miss a few tiles, so I'm gonna have to go back and grab those. Let's put that kind of offset to the grid there. Okay, now let's just merge these together. Good. I need this, and I need one more tile, this one here. Okay, let's drag those in. That one will go here, and these, one there, and that's it. So this is now open on that one side. And the thing is, it doesn't change the collision that much, but it does change some of the collision. So as you can see, normally you'd be able to walk on these 4 tiles here, but with this active, you can't walk on those tiles. And this here is now, it's technically a blue tile, so I want something that can, it's passable, you can walk there, but I don't want anything generating there like an exit, because it's going to look like there's a hole overhanging the edge of the cliff, so that would look a little weird. I'm going to try to make sure that nothing spawns there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my collision, duplicate what I have existing, I'm going to label it C, and let's set up our collision. So nothing's really changed that much from the default that I set up. I just need to get rid of these 4 tiles and make the one above it and to the left blue. So that's from the center line on the bottom 2 rows down. So let's just zoom in here. So this is the center line here. So everything on the bottom 2 rows to the right of the center line is gray. And this needs to be blue, and that's our collision. There we go. So the game will read that, and it will set up our collision properly. And I think we're good to extract this. So let's turn on the overlay. Ah, nope. Okay, I have to separate a part of the overlay. So I'm going to take this, cut that, and then just hide it. I'll need that for the other configurations. And here we go. Okay, let's extract this. We'll call it C, so variant C, J, configuration J, 1. And now in my folders, I've got my ground layers here. Let's go back to the folder I'm working on. Here it is. I'm going to take this, move it into file J, folder J. Let's get the overlay. I don't need the collision on this one. Okay. Bring that into J. Let's go to our light folder. Hide the overlay, turn on the light layer. That appears over the torch. Send that into folder J, and then in our shadow layer, same deal. Send that into J. Okay. And that's it. It's already implemented in the game. Just putting it in the folders is all I need to do. Now, I don't have all the variants for configuration J set aside, but I will show you what that looks like. So I'm going to set the configuration to J, and I'm going to make it so that it only spawns variant C, which will look weird. It's not going to be connected, but this is how I can test collision with a single variant if I don't have all the files in place yet. So let's go back into our game, and let's just start by loading into the dungeon. Sip of coffee. Okay, so we're in the dungeon. As you can see, yeah, it looks weird because this isn't supposed to... First of all, this room is not supposed to line up with any other room like this. It's got an exit to the bottom and the right, which means it would need to attach to the left and the top, and there's no exits there, so it's not going to look right. That's not the point. Once I remove the forcing of variants and configurations, this will connect properly, but this is a way for me to actually test the collision. So this is what it looks like for now. Let's go to a... Where is it? There. Let's find the exit. Let's go to the next floor, and I'm going to turn on my collision debug mode. And this allows me to see all the collision. Perfect. Okay. So here we go. I've got blue being passable and non-spawnable, yellow being spawnable for chests, purple is spawnable for player and monsters. And it looks like our collision is set up properly, and the variant looks good. Okay. And that's it. That's the whole process for actually putting together one of these variants. So I am increasing the workload by adding more diversity to the dungeons and more diversity to the types of ways that rooms can generate. But it's still dramatically less than the work that I had to do with my old system. And it's also... I think that the result is well worth it. I think it's going to break up the monotony of the maps. I think that it's going to make it just give them a little bit more character. And the thing is that these variants can change with different rooms, or with different dungeons, I should say. So with the cave, I have walls for my main collision, and then pawns for the variants. When I remake Aleston, the town, my main collision is going to be houses, which I'm going to need to create an overlap feature for that, but that's something I'm still working on as well. It's not necessary for this dungeon, but it will be for that one. But I can have houses and buildings be the main source of collision, and then things like gardens with trees as the variant. Even for the forest, trees and forest will be the main collision for the Lyre Forest, and then the variant will be ponds and lakes. So there's quite a bit of versatility to the system. It allows for a lot more flexibility with dungeons, and it just gives them a lot more personality. And I think it's going to be a good change. So that's all I wanted to share with this video. I'm still working on the system. I'm still making it better and better. But I'm hoping that I can actually have at least the first dungeon complete with the fully completed procedural dungeon system by about mid-June, maybe the end of June. We'll see. And then from there, it's just a matter of actually putting together the maps and putting together the dungeons. And it shouldn't... It is going to be a process. It's going to take time. But it's still going to be a lot less time than I would have done if I was still doing these full-scale rooms that I was doing when I first started development on this project. These took a long time to make. These took like 2+ hours per map. And these were some of the simpler ones. These ones maybe only took about an hour. The forest maps would take on average around 3 hours per map. And when you start putting in like 30 of them, that's a lot of work. I could literally do an entire dungeon in that amount of time. And those were for the small dungeons. This system allows me to make dungeons of any type of variety and any size with the same amount of time, no matter how big the dungeon is. So that's it for this video. So hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.